Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Embracing Life in Issaquah. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, and I'm here with your lovely host, Rebecca Kuno-Scott. Hello, Rebecca.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes. I think the time of this recording will be February already. That's crazy.
Oh, that's right. Oh my
Time goes
gosh.
so fast. Wow. It feels like we're recording this in January.
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works. I know. Well, listen, I know we caught up a little bit on the holidays before we hit record, and I'm sure everybody else is kind of getting into momentum for the new year. And one of the things that you were talking about was storms. Like you just went through one, yes?
Yes. Actually, it was the biggest windstorm in this area in the last 10 years. It was really significant.
That's crazy. So, you were talking about like it felt like windows would implode. Like
I was genuinely concerned about that. Like my house was shaking.
Wow,
it was intense.
That's scary. Did you notice like were there trees down or like furniture blown away? Like what did you notice?
Yes, actually, on one street over, the mailboxes were completely blown over.
Wow.
The block of mailboxes completely blown over.
Crazy.
There were several downed trees, not so much in my neighborhood, but in and around Issaquah. There was definitely reports of downed trees. I know some people in Redmond who were in kind of more of a rural suburban part of Redmond,
right,
where they were kind of trapped in their home because their driveway was completely blocked by two massive trees, and they had this long kind of tree driveway. And so it was intense. And in fact, schools today had a 2-hour delay start because they wanted more daylight for safer transportation because of the remaining debris on the road. They wanted the drivers to be able to see and be able to better navigate if needed. So kids in Issaquah School District were on a 2-hour delay start today.
How long was power out for?
In Issaquah Highlands specifically, it was a good 15 hours.
Wow.
And that's the longest power outage. Keep in mind that in Issaquah Highlands, all the power lines are in ground.
Wow.
So for power to be out for 15 hours it was pretty significant. Sunday morning at the peak of the storm, it looked like 4th of July outside from all the transformers blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy. You know, it's funny not funny, but it's interesting that when you don't have, when storms aren't present or, danger isn't around, we're just kind of like, we just go about life. And it's like in the middle of a storm where you're like, dude, do I even know how to handle this if I don't have what I need? I think we would definitely take our comforts for granted sometimes. I'm not prepared. We had a storm in Spokane several years ago where we lost power for like days. And I remember we were cooking like hot water on the grill, boiling water on the grill. There was one Starbucks that had power. So like it was packed with people trying to charge their cell phones. It was like, and I remember Costco had this list that came out that was like all the like food you could buy in buckets for, disasters or whatever. I was like, wow, I might need to get some of that. But
it's intense. And it's so from that, it got me thinking because my phone was charged, and so there's, for my neighborhood specifically, there's a community Facebook page, and so there was a lot of chatter on that talking about the storm and this and that, and so it brought to mind the whole premise of this show is around embracing life, right?
Yeah.
So how do we embrace life? How do we embrace each other in the midst of a storm? And it was actually really funny too, because over the past few weeks, I've actually watched a lot of disaster movies like Impact, and there was another one with Dennis Quaid where like there's an ice age that hits, and then another one with like a massive tsunami. I've just been watching all these disaster movies recently, and then all of a sudden we have this big storm. So the theme in all of those were showing people rallying together, right? To support and so I thought it was just a neat topic. I don't necessarily have specific points to make, but it made me curious. How in this day and age, when a lot of times we're disconnected because everything's all done on the internet and things like that, and we don't have as much human interaction as much, how can we prepare for when storms show up in our lives, whether it's an actual physical weather storm or other, an emotional storm, whatever the case may be, how can we prepare for that? And so it just kind of made me curious and made me start to wonder about that. My thought, some simple practical things that we had available as resources while our power was out. In my particular home, we have a gas fireplace. And what some people may or may not know who have gas fireplaces is that because they're sealed, so obviously you can't turn the gas on and then stick a lighter in there, right? Because most of them these days are an enclosed, sealed off thing.
Right.
So they're used to flipping a switch to turn it on.
Yeah, right. Good point.
So some people may not realize that a lot of gas fireplaces have a battery backup starter. And so you still, depending on your fireplace, you still just flip your switch as normal, but instead of going through the power grid, that switch, when you flip it, now accesses that battery backup.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So
I didn't know that.
One thing for anybody out there watching, if you experienced this storm and you felt like you were without power and without heat, but you have a gas fireplace, look into it and see whether or not your fireplace is equipped with a battery backup.
Yeah.
They're not too difficult to install. It's not too expensive to install. And you don't need it too often, but when you do need it, it's sure nice to have.
Absolutely.
And then we also were equipped with a gas stove, so we were set, right?
Yeah, that's good.
We also, you had talked about how you had the storm in Spokane and you were boiling water on the grill. That's another option for people, like, okay, how do you do that? You kind of get into camping mode and you start cooking outdoors with your grill and you just kind of figure it out. And so I think in the long run, the things I wanted to point out is at any given point, maybe kind of make sure that you have a small supply of canned goods. Excuse me. Whew.
Yeah, sneeze. Oh, you stopped it. That was amazing. You stopped it. That was incredible.
But things like canned soup, those are things that can store and keep for a while, but they're easy to put on a pot and warm up on a grill outside if you don't have a gas stove indoors you have access to. So those are some things you can do individually to be prepared. But then the other thing is how do we reach out, and this is where I'd like to put it out to the audience. How do we reach out to each other and support each other in those kinds of times of need? And I don't have an answer right now of what that looks like, other than, checking on your neighbors and things like that. But I'd be curious to hear what other people, what their thoughts are.
Yeah, I think what would be, if I just thought about the whole, again, to your premise of the show, Embracing Life in Issaquah, and the idea that as a community, we start connecting with each other to I think this episode is a great example of that. Like those of you watching, listening, in the comments, you just let us know, what do you do to be prepared personally? And then are there resources that you know of? Are there websites or businesses, nonprofits, or things in town that we can connect with when things like that happen? And then what are some other ways that we can connect as a community? Like when things happen, how do we do that? We would love your thoughts on that. So put them in the comments.
Great.
Yeah. So good. Thanks for bringing this to us. I mean, this is a good topic. I think, as a real estate agent, when you're connected to the community like you are, this is an important conversation to facilitate for the community to have. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. And I
I
imagine.
did think of actually an important safety tip.
Yeah.
Related to natural disasters that I have gained over my past almost 20 years of real estate experience and
Yeah.
following inspectors around on home inspections.
Yeah.
If the storm or if it's something like an earthquake and there's possible disruption to gas lines, make sure you know how to turn the gas off to your home if your home is serviced by natural gas. And a really good idea, because if it's an earthquake, you might go, oh, well, my wrench is in the garage, no problem. Well, what if you can't get to your garage, right? So the handy tip is just go buy, a $5 wrench from Home Depot and wire it to the gas pipe so it is right there adjacent. You don't have to go.
Good idea.
Because you might not be able to get to the garage.
Right.
Or the tool box might be toppled over, or who knows what. Just invest $5 and have a wrench that's permanently attached to your gas line.
Yeah.
So that if you need to shut the gas off at the main line, you have the ability, and it's just done. That's a huge safety tip.
That's really good. I love
lives.
that. Yeah, I never would have thought of that. That's awesome. That's so good. Well, Rebecca, if people are listening to this and they want to reach out to you because they have real estate needs, actually, they're actually like, I'm thinking about buying or selling, or maybe they just want to connect with you because they like you. Like, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Sure. Right now, a great way to reach me is through my Facebook page, Embracing Life in Issaquah. Would love to connect with you there. So check that out. Or you can always call me or text me at 425-395-4573.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for a great episode. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye, Chris.